Hello again, everybody. Today we have another of our surprising stories from the Bible. Last week, Jesus told Martha to stop worrying about the housework and to spend time with him, learning about the important things in life. Today, Jesus tells a story to help people understand what really is and what really isn't important. And there's a big surprise in the story for the man in the story too. Let's find out more as we open the book and listen to the greedy farmer.
Once upon a time, said Jesus, there was a rich man who spent his whole life thinking about how he could get rich. One morning, the rich man who owned a farm walked from his house to his fields. He looked at his crops and he rubbed his hands together greedily. Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
He climbed to the top of the biggest barn and looked out across the farm. Work harder, he ordered his servants, who were loading grain sack after sack in the hot sun. I'm very rich, he said to himself, but I'd like to be richer. The next week, he walked from his house to his field. He looked at his crops and he rubbed his hands together greedily. Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
He climbed to the top of the biggest barn and looked across the farm. Shoo! Go away! He screamed at some birds that had swooped down and started to peck the grain. This is mine, all mine, and you can't have any of it. Another week went by. The rich man walked from his house to his fields. He looked at his crops and he rubbed his hands together greedily. Mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
He climbed to the top of his biggest barn and looked out across his farm. Stop, thief! He shouted to a poor man who had stopped to pick up some of the grain which had accidentally spilled on the floor. The poor man had a wife and 3 children to feed, and he had nothing to eat. You have to find some other way to feed your family, said the rich man. This is mine, all mine, and you can't have any of it. The rich man walked home, and he thought long and hard about the grain. It's spilling out, he thought. The birds are eating it. Poor people are coming to steal grain that's spilling out of the door, and I can't let this happen. That grain is mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
What shall I do? The next morning, the rich man walked from his house to his fields. Hey, he called to his servants. Stop working, put down your tools and come over here. The servants put down their shovels in surprise. This barn isn't big enough, said the rich man. Today I want you to pull it down. Yes, pull it down completely and build a larger one. Oh, and when you've finished, you can start to build a second one. I have tons and tons of grain, and I'm going to store it all. Then I will sell it, and I will be rich. rich beyond my wildest dream. Day after day, the rich man went to his fields to watch the servants building his enormous barns. He made sure that no one came by to take so much as a handful of grain. At last, the barns were finished. The rich man walked home. He thought long and hard about his life. I have so much that I will never need to work again. In the morning, I will go out and buy myself the best fine clothes. I'll order in the best food and crates of the best wine. I'm going to have a wonderful time, spending all my money. And it's mine, all mine.
Mine, all mine.
But that very night, the man died in his sleep. No one mourned for him, and no one wept for the man who had all the riches in the world, but who kept them all for himself. As Jesus finished the story, he looked around. "Don't be like that man," he said. "People like that can never please God. Being rich won't make you happy, and being selfish is always a bad choice in the end."
Did you spot the surprise? After all his hard work, the farmer didn't live long enough to enjoy all the money he had made. Not so much a surprise as a nasty shock. The farmer was selfish and greedy. He had far more than he needed, and he wouldn't even share what he had with anyone else, even the really poor people. Now let's close our eyes and think about these words from the story. By storing up riches for himself, he forgot all about the really important things in life. And now, let's think about this. If being rich isn't important, then what is? Now I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, please help us to know what is really important in life and what isn't. And help us not to be like the greedy farmer, but to share what we have with others. Amen.